sandals, fruit in a paper bag. You got that easy laughter, pulling me out my drag. Kids by the corner shop, dancing with a boomstick grin. I was moving slow, not a whole day lets me in. Hey now, look at you, turning gray to blue. One sweet smile from you, and the sky comes through. Oh, sway in the sunshine, sway all day. Sway in the sunshine, make my blues run away. La 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 la, hold tight. La 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 la, feel fine. Sway in the sunshine, sway in the sunshine. Ice in a glass of lime, sweat on a laughing face. Grandma on the front step, rocking that same old pace. Pots on the stove go bum, somebody starts to sing. Even the stray dog knows this is a happy thing. Hey now, take my hand, spin me where you stand. One sweet word from you, and I understand. Sway in the sunshine, sway all day. Sway in the sunshine, make my blues run away. La 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 la, hold tight. La 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 la, feel fine. Sway in the sunshine, sway in the sunshine. If the clouds roll by, we let them pass. Shake off the worry, kick it in the grass. You and me, we glow, easy as a smile. Stay right here with me just a little while. Sway in the sunshine, sway all day. Sway in the sunshine, make my blues run away. La 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 la, hold tight. La 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 la, feel fine. Sway in the sunshine, sway in the sunshine. Sway in the sunshine. Sway in the sunshine.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another featured flight. This is Minnesota Sports Fan 88. We are here today taking this Boeing 777 from FlightFactor over from Dallas Fort Worth to Ontario, California. Welcome everybody. This is our first feature flight back from Flight Sim Expo 2026. What a time that was. So great meeting many of you. Many new subscribers to the channel, many new friends made throughout that weekend. It was an absolute fantastic time. If you have not been to a Flight Sim Expo before, I highly suggest going next year in Vegas. It is an absolute joy to be a part of. So many people there, so many vendors, so many cool products to take a look at and try out for yourself. But ultimately, the big part is just seeing all of you and getting to meet a lot of you. So thank you all so much for being a part of that experience. And it was just awesome to be a part of the Flight Sim community hangout for the weekend. It was really fantastic, as it was the first expo I have ever attended, and I definitely was not disappointed. I can't wait to get back to another expo. I'm hoping to somehow make Vegas work next year and hopefully see you all there. You know, I think the most impressive thing that I took away from Flight Sim Expo over the entire weekend was just kind of like the sense of community. You know, the biggest thing for me at least is, you know, in my everyday life, I don't know anybody who shares into this same hobby. And to be in a room full of, you know, 1,000 people or more, all sharing the same passion, same interest, all of that was probably the coolest part. So to have that opportunity to be in a room where you can talk to somebody about the Flight Sim Expo and the passion that goes along with flight simming and being able to look at all these products was really something very unique, and definitely stood out for me because you don't have that opportunity in your everyday life. Some of the expos I checked out, Wind Control obviously is bringing it once again. I mean, they've been impressive every year that they've been at the Flight Sim Expo. That overhead, full 1-to-1, full scale size Airbus overhead panel, that thing is definitely cool, but you're going to need some sort of massive rig to hold that thing up. So how practical it is for anybody to go ahead and have that in their home setup, I don't know. But for somebody who does want to put that full cockpit sim setup in their house, that's something obviously that they're going to want to go after. The other booth that was really impressive was Thrustmaster. So Thrustmaster is coming out with a new yoke that is going to be geared towards GA flying. So it's going to be that push-pull type of yoke. And I think, honestly, a lot of the community was a little disappointed the fact that it did not have the force feedback. I was talking to Sean from sales for a little bit at the Thrustmaster booth and definitely spoke to him about, you know, just kind of, you know, the things that I really like about the Thrustmaster products that I have. And I have the TCA Boeing yoke, and it's definitely a fantastic product that I've had now for a little over a year. It looks brand new. It works fantastic all the time. I don't really have any issues with it. I also have their rudder pedals as well. And it's the same thing with the yoke. Like, the quality holds up, and something that I think can see myself using over the next several years. And I think the same thing would hold true with the new yoke they're going to come out with. So if you haven't checked that out yet, check it out on either my channel, on my review of the look back video of the Flight Sim Expo, or you can go on the Thrustmaster website and they're going to have the product on there as well to preview. It doesn't come out till later 2026, but you can certainly take a look at it. But hands-on feel with it at the expo is one of the perks of being there and being able to test it out. And it does feel really good in the hands. It definitely has that tension that you're looking for when you pull back or push it on the yoke. It's one of those things that you look for in a product like that. Because it doesn't have force feedback, some people are going to be upset about that when other competitors do have that. Totally understand it. I was kind of hoping for that as well. But overall, you know, Thrustmaster is a trusted brand, and so I don't really feel like there's any sort of concerns there. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started here. We got a flight here to take care of. We're just going to get some of our radios all set up here, ready to go. We are currently on VATSIM. No controllers are currently online, so we're just going to get ourselves set up here with CTAF or KDFW, and then we're going to go ahead and get ourselves programmed in. We're looking at about a 2.5-hour flight this morning over to Ontario, and we're going to be climbing to an initial altitude of 32,000 feet, probably doing a step climb or two on our way over, and we are going to be a very heavy aircraft. SimBrief is estimating over 500,000 pounds right now, so we're definitely going to be needing a long takeoff roll, and yeah, all that cargo that we're going to be loading up here. So all right, so let's say hello to the grounds crew, and then we can go here to the FMC and start getting our information plugged in. We're going to be here at KDFW. Throw that in there. Very good. And then we are heading over to Ontario, KONT. And then we're going to be departing runway 17 right this morning. And so we'll put our call sign and then 17 right for our runway. And we'll just make sure they're happy here.
Captain,
so we can use them for while we need it. Perfect. Luggage is
loaded.
loaded. And then we'll go here to the master there.
Has been loaded.
All right, perfect.
Thanks.
Okay, so back to our FMC here. So runway 17 right for departure this morning. And then we can go over to our departure page. We are going to be on the, let's see here, CATS 2 departure. So we're going to look for CATS 2 departure. There it is with the Brahma transition. Throw that in. Very good. And then we will head over to the route page. Yeah, route page. And then activate first. Very good. Execute. And then route page. All right, so from Brahma, we're going to be heading over to CNX. Okay. Charlie November X-ray. We'll go ahead and then go from that to Jetway Juliet 74. And then we're going to be going to Sierra. Yep, okay, there we go. SJN. Perfect. And then from there, we'll go ahead and select our arrival. And we're going to be expecting runway 26 left into Ontario this morning. We'll go ILS 26 left. And then with that, we're going to be on the Scabby 2 arrival with the Daphne transition. Beautiful. All right. Very good. So with that, we are going to have our flight plan all entered in. Just taking a look over here at my other monitor just to make sure everything is looking good. I'm just trying to see if we need one of those transitions or not. And I don't believe we do. So right now we should be just fine with the way it is. We'll execute that here in just a moment. And you can see our cargo that we have yet to load up for our flight this morning. So here's what I'm going to plan on doing. When we are getting up to cruise altitude this morning, instead of doing our normal feature flight break with, like, you know, some tunes that I usually play, I think I'm going to go ahead and show my Flight Sim Expo 2026 a look back video. And if you haven't seen it yet, it'll just be part of this featured flight. And so you can kind of see the experience that I had at the expo, and it'll just kind of do a fun little recap. Did some plane spotting on Friday before. I was not at the expo on Friday, but I did some plane spottings with some YouTube friends, and then headed over to the expo on Saturday, which spent about 6 hours there, and it was a fantastic time. All right, so we'll go ahead and execute that. We're just going to kind of cycle through here a little bit. Let's clear out some of these discontinuities. And then we should be good to go here. Once we get our load sheet, we can go ahead and get our init ref page all filled out, and that will give us our weights and balances for our flight this morning. FlightFactor has been releasing a lot of updates for this plane. If you have not been flying this plane lately, make sure you do your updates, because they have been doing quite a bit with this plane. This is also around the time that they also released more 7.5 and 7.6 updates. So if you own those planes, make sure you're doing your updates there as well. Okay, perfect. So let's just kind of step through our flight here a little bit. And it all is looking good. Pretty much a straight in approach here, always into Ontario, which is nice. And looking good. All right, so once we get our load sheet, we'll go ahead and enter in those numbers, and then we will be all pretty much good to go to push back out of Dallas this morning.
Brought a new load sheet.
All right, looks like we got that load sheet, so we'll go ahead and take a look at that and see what we need to enter in for our weights and balances. And okay, so zero fuel weight 482.3. 482.3. Reserve fuel is going to be 2,000, 2.0. And then our cruise altitude, like I said, 32,000 feet will be our initial cruise altitude, but we probably won't be at that for very long. We'll probably be up around like 37,000 feet pretty quickly. All right, cost index, looking at my other monitor here, I think, yeah, it's only going to be 15. We'll go 15. It says 11. We're going to go with 15. We'll bump that up even a little bit more if we need to. Cell temp this morning is going to be plus 46. Throw that in. And then our flaps is going to be 5 degrees. And then we'll go over to our takeoff ref for our winds. Winds this morning out of Dallas is going to be 160 at 8. And our outside air temperature is going to be 24. All right, so now we'll go back to our first page here. We'll accept our V speeds, 140, 146, 158. Very good. And then we need to grab our CG percentage here for our trim. And our trim this morning is going to be 28.5. Perfect. So that'll give us our trim here. of 3.5. All right, perfect. So we are pretty much all good to go here, friends. We can just go ahead and get everything closed up and ready to go and get pushed on back. We'll do the pre-flight briefing. We'll close all hatches, close all doors, and we're ready to get out of here. All right, pushback tug is here. Kind of a quiet morning this morning here in Dallas. You can see a couple other planes over at the gates, a couple American Airlines. Looks like we have a A21neo, another A21 over there as well. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I am on Flight. For those of you who have been watching my channel over the past year, you guys know how I've talked about Say Intentions a lot over the past year. I've used their product. I was a user of their product for about 9 months. And I just recently switched over to Flight and really trying to get comfortable with that program and that whole network. I really am enjoying it, and really just kind of increasing my knowledge base. But let's talk about Say Intentions here for just a moment. So Say Intentions was at the Flight Sim Expo, and I have to say, of all the exhibits that were there, Say Intentions was actually one of the most impressive. I think they really presented themselves in a really good way. They had a stage where they were constantly giving presentations, giving us previews of things that they've been working on, upcoming features that they're implementing either right away or like right now that they started this past weekend, and things that they're working on in the year to come. And I have to say, like, you know, Say Intentions is really one of those products where I think they do a lot of extra stuff that I really love, where they, you know, will allow all these added really cool features. But the AI that I had experience with over the 9 months that I had it really sometimes frustrated me. And I don't know if this is really, if it's really worth the money every month if your AI is not giving you proper vectoring or following proper weather, proper runways. It would close runways when, you know, the real world runways would be open. And those were the things that really frustrated me with that product, and I am no longer a subscriber to their product. And it's for those reasons that I had to leave that and try something else like Flight, because for me to pay, you know, $20 a month, now it's like $24 a month if you weren't grandfathered into that price point. It's a hard sell for me to justify when the AI, which is the entire base of their product, doesn't work 100% of the time the way that it should. It's fantastic that they're doing a lot of other things with their products, and they're doing all these really cool add-on features, but I almost feel like those features could be sold as a separate product. And if they could cut out the AI part of it and allow me to, you know, assign myself a gate as I'm making my way into a region, and, you know, allow, they call it the taxi tuner, right? So it shows me my path to the gate that I've assigned or the runway I'm taking off of. Those are all very cool features and very neat to have. But the problem is when your AI is not working properly, you know, all those features really don't really matter. So hopefully over time their product will increase in quality, but for right now I just couldn't justify dropping $20 a month for a product that really gave me frustrations. And there were times too where I'd be taxiing from, you know, either like what we're doing now, we're going from our stand or our gate over to the runway, and my ATC would fall off. It wouldn't be available. I'd be switching over from ground over to tower, and tower wouldn't be there. It would say that there's nobody to talk to when there should be. And so there's just like various frustrations that I had over the time that I used that product, where I just had to make a decision that, you know, was this really worth my $20, and was it worth those frustrations? And, you know, if you're a user of Say Intentions and you enjoy it, that's absolutely fantastic. I hope you continue to use it, and I hope you continue to be a customer and enjoy your experience with them. But I think a lot of people have also had frustrations with AI ATC in general. And it's not just Say Intentions, it could be beyond ATC as well. And everyone has their opinion, and that's totally fine. But for me, I just could not continue on using a product that gave me frustrations. You know, I'm trying to enjoy my experience and the immersion level, and it just, if it kept meaning that I was going to be frustrated with my experience, it just wasn't worth the added cost. So I decided to unsubscribe about a month or two ago. I was still very interested to see what they had to say at the expo, and I'm still going to be curious as to what they bring forward in the future. And I'm going to be watching other people's reviews at a later time, you know, to see how far this product has come. And you know, I think AIATC has a path forward. I really think there is a place for it in flight sim, but it has to be working 100% of the time, because if you don't have AIATC working properly, it could really screw up your flight. And there's nothing more frustrating than coming in, you know, expecting proper vectors and expecting, you know, certain runways with real world weather on, and you're told, nope, sorry, you can't land on that runway because, you know, we're going to land in the opposite direction. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be landing with a 15 knot wind to my back. I just don't, right? For me, like, I need it to be matching real world weather. That's what I always fly. And I know, you know, in their portal they talked about how there's times where they don't always follow that in the real world, and you know, maybe they don't, right? Maybe they don't. But for me, this is a simulator, and I want it to be, you know, as realistic as I could possibly get it, and fly things the proper way. And so I had to make that call about a month ago, and no longer am I a member of Say Intentions. So leave a comment if you are somebody who has used Say Intentions in the past or still use it now. Let me know your thoughts. Hopefully you're having a great time with it. Hopefully you're not in the same position that I was in. I would really hate for somebody to be paying a monthly fee and be frustrated with their product. So hopefully you are experiencing Say Intentions in a great way. But all that being said, at the expo, I have to say they had to have probably the most impressive setup in terms of just having a game plan and being very professional. And I talk about this in my look back video, where I was very just in awe with their presentation on Friday. And then when I went there on Saturday, they had, you know, a stage set up at their booth. They had, you know, a game plan, right? They had an idea. They know what they're trying to sell. My only feedback is all those features sound great, but at the end of the day, when I'm at home in my sim, I need those features to work 100% of the time, and I need them to do the things that I'm expecting them to do. And if they don't, if there's a roadblock, if ATC's fallen off, if they're having me land on wrong runways, if I should be vectoring left towards my final, but yet they're sending me right, those are things that are a big turnoff for me. And I absolutely don't want to have that frustration in my sim. So I had to make that call. I had to leave it, and yeah, here we are. So we're on VATSIM. We're giving it a try. It's been good so far. I've only made a mistake or two so far. I really do enjoy flying on the network. It is great. So, and it's free. So there you go, right? So right then and there, there's a huge plus. But there's nothing like talking to a real human. So, and also having that injected traffic. You know, and that's another thing with Say Intentions. You know, me being an X-Plane user, I wanted injected traffic, and that in the time that I had it, I think it has it now. I think I saw that they now all of a sudden have it. That, you know, I wanted that traffic injection, and it never happened. You know, and that was one of the main reasons why I stuck with it for as long as I did, even though I had those frustrations. That, you know, hey, maybe once they get that traffic injection working in X-Plane, maybe, you know, it'll be well worth the wait and worth maybe the frustration. But it just never happened. And hopefully, if it is implemented now, that it's working well and nobody's having any issues with it. But my biggest fear was, if I'm being told to land on the wrong, you know, runway, and I have traffic injection on, am I going to be landing on the runway in the opposite direction of somebody's AI plane, right? And that's just going to completely mess up the immersion there. So, you know, those are just some concerns that I had, and definitely ultimately led to my decision to leave that subscription service. Alright, so we are now at our turn to make our way on to runway 17 for departure. don't have any controllers online, so we're just going to go ahead and announce here on CTAF our intentions. Fort Worth traffic, UPS 720 heavy, lining up runway 17 right for departure, Fort Worth traffic. All right, very good. We are ready to rock and roll. We'll get ourselves lined up and we will be on our way out of here. Early morning departure out of Dallas. Just after 7 a.m. right now. Kind of a hazy sky this morning, so we'll see what our views coming out of here is like. All right, throttles to 40%. And toga. Slight forward down pressure on the yoke.
VNAV speed on.
Let's get it.
LNAV on. Auto
80 knots or
throttle
neutral.
hold.
Oh boy. Keep her straight, keep her straight.
V1.
Oh my gosh, see that wind just swirling. No wonder we're all over the runway. All right, rotate. Yeah, look at this wind, you guys. Wow. We had swirling winds. Winds are coming at us. They're coming from behind us.
VNAV speed. Thrust reference.
All right, positive rate gear up. She just wants to climb. Look at this. Wow. We may be heavy on cargo, but we are light on fuel, and you can definitely tell. All right, pitch for climb. She is like a rocket ship coming out of here.
Autopilot engaged.
All right, we'll go autopilot on. We are going to be making our way out and around. Yeah, we're already above those clouds. At one point there, we were 5,000 feet per minute on that climb. That's insane. Give ourselves a wing view.
Heading to course.
Depending on where you put your camera, it's gonna make a different sound with the engines. Definitely quieter over here on the right side. Alright friends, and we are climbing out of Dallas, Texas, on our way to Ontario, California. We're going to expect flight level 370, I think, as our full climb. We're going to go to 320 to start. Then we'll see what our optimal winds are there and our optimal altitude. So we'll keep close to that. For our intermission, we're going to do a little something different here because we are just coming off of Flight Sim Expo 2026, and I did release that video last weekend or 2 weekends ago. Of the Flight Sim Expo, a look back. I'm going to put that in here, and so that way if you have not seen that yet, you can just go ahead and stay here and you can watch that 9-minute video in full for our intermission. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit about it when we come back on the other side on our descent into Ontario. And feel free to leave comments in the comment section below about anything you've seen so far, with discussions that we've already had in the video here today. And we will see you on the other side. Enjoy the video, everybody. Flight Sim Expo 2026 is in the books, and in this video I'm going to share some of the highlights of this year's event. I spent time walking the show floor, checking out exhibits, talking with attendees, and getting a closer look at some of the products and displays that caught my attention. There was a lot to see this year, from new product announcements and simulator hardware to developers showing off what's coming next for the flight sim community. This was Flight Sim Expo 2026 from the St. Paul River Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. Let's get into it. Flight Sim Expo 2026 was the first ever expo I have attended, and I wasn't disappointed. The large floor layout allowed for 6 rows of vendor exhibits, where at each booth you could speak to developers and get a hands-on feel for their products. I was told by other attendees that this year's layout was one of the largest, allowing for ample space for visitors to flow easily through the floor pad. Over at the stage, developers gave presentations throughout the day to showcase products they are working on either improving or announcing something new they are bringing to the community. On Friday, we heard from developers such as Thrustmaster, Say Intentions, Explain, Moza, Navigraph, and Microsoft Flight Simulator, all giving us a preview of what's ahead for the flight sim community to enjoy. One of, if not the most popular exhibits, is Wing Control, formerly known as WinWing. What they are bringing to the market, and at affordable prices, is nothing short of extraordinary. If you are in the market of a McDo, an FMC, an autopilot panel, a tiller like this one here, or even a 1-to-1 full-scale Airbus overhead panel, this is the stop for you. I tested out this product, and believe me when I say this thing is robust, but impressive, and it will be available for under $400, in which they hope will be later this year. One product I had to check out was the new Taurus Boeing yoke by Wing Control. And as you know, I'm a Boeing guy. And for those who want that full cockpit simulator, this may be an option for you. I was impressed by the quality, the feel of it. It's that full 1-to-1 scale of a Boeing yoke. And it is definitely impressive. For those of you wanting to build a full Boeing cockpit in your home, this may be the right option. The overall quality of Wing Control is fantastic. I currently own their Boeing FMC and their Boeing autopilot panel, and at an affordable price, you can't go wrong. I've been impressed with the quality, and having been a user of their products for over a year, they still look to this day like they just came out of the box. I then made my way over to the Thrustmaster booth, and I had a great conversation with Sean from sales. And I talked to him about how I have loved having my TCA Boeing yoke over the last year, along with my rudder pedals, and how they too look like they just came out of the box. Thrustmaster is a trusted brand in the flight sim community and has been around for many years. And at this year's expo, Thrustmaster is announcing this brand new yoke, which is going to be great for any of those GA pilots out there. And I got my hands-on feel with this, and I have to say, it feels very good. The push-pull system in it is very well done, and it gives you that tension that you're looking for. And they say this product should be available later this year. had to stop and take a look at this product here. This is by Cockpit Simulator, and this is one of the most impressive items in the show. A fully automated, one-to-one replica of a real Boeing throttle. This is a flight simmer's dream, and can be yours for $4,000. Yikes. It was really cool to walk the floor and see brands that you were so familiar with. Navigraph was one of them. Navigraph has been a huge part of the flight simmer's experience for many years now, and their product is meant to allow for each flight to be a breeze. It was cool to see the faces behind this amazing product. And then there was Say Intentions. If you know me and my channel, I've spoken a lot about this product. Their booth was awesome. They had lots of presentations all throughout the day, all about their new and upcoming features that they've released or about to release. And they really showed the dedication to their product and how they believe that AI ATC is a wave of the future for all of us flight simmers. I was really impressed how they carried themselves professionally, and they seem to have a well thought out plan as to how to present their new product features coming this year. Checking out the VATSIM booth was also rather neat, as you could watch controllers do their thing on the network. From someone like myself who is new to using the network, this was rather interesting, and definitely piqued my interest in using the network going forward. Flight Sim Expo really has it all, from full motion rigs to full simulator experiences with real world pilots, YouTubers creating content in front of you, and getting a chance to speak to developers, watch presentations, and meeting your favorite YouTubers. Flight Sim Expo is simply amazing. But the absolute best thing about Flight Sim Expo is, of course, the people. A community coming together from all over the world once a year to share in a passion of flight sim. There's really nothing else like it. And for me, this may have been my first expo, but certainly not the last. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you at Flight Sim Expo 2027. Alright, well, welcome back everybody. Hope you enjoyed the intermission video there of my time at Flight Sim Expo. Definitely was a day to remember, and hopefully if you could not have made it this year at the Flight Sim Expo 2026 in St. Paul, Minnesota, hopefully you can make it next year in 2027. That is going to be held in Las Vegas, Nevada. Alright, so here we are. We are on our descent. We're currently at 19,000 feet. We need to be descending a little bit more than what we are right now. I can see that we are currently high on profile. So this is what happens, chat, when you don't pay attention to your descent. You are going to be behind on your profile. So we're going to have to start doing some things here. Not sure why we stopped descending. We have VNAV, LNAV all engaged. We're at 3,000 feet for our target altitude to capture glide slope, and the plane just decided to stop descending. Okay, so here's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to go vertical speed, and we're going to go ahead and just do this manually, get this plane to start descending, and then we're also going to probably have to disengage our auto throttle and get some speed brakes out to manage our speed. So let's just start doing some things here, and probably gonna have to do a little bit more vertical speed here than 2,000, so we'll just kind of bug that up a little bit more. 3,500 will be a good start. We'll see how that does with our speed,
Feet per minute.
and we'll just
Check.
kind of monitor things here as we are making our way into Ontario. It's been a good flight all throughout. Very nice weather. The first set of clouds really that I've seen is right in front of us, so coming into the California area. So we're going to be coming down in through the soup. The winds are pretty light right now in Ontario, but the overcast is at 1,500 feet. So we are going to be having pretty much a soupy arrival until we get underneath those clouds. So, but yeah, here we are. We are on our descent. We're going to try our best to make this here. We are going to be cutting it quite close. We do have a mountain range in front of us, so if we need to do a loop to bleed off more of this altitude, we are going to have to choose carefully as to where we do that. So we'll just keep an eye on things here as we make our way in. But we'll just kind of see how the plane does. You know, I haven't had any problems with this plane since the latest updates. I know they just did an update. I actually downloaded it before filming this here today. So hopefully that was nothing update related. I love FlightFactor and how many updates they do, but it does always make me wonder with all these updates if, you know, the more you touch things, the more you have a potential for breaking things. So not really sure what happened there. It might have been due to our arrival. I want to say maybe the transition wasn't put in correctly. I think everything was good. We pretty much double checked it before we left Dallas, so not really sure. But anyway, here we are. We're making our way down. We're just gonna have to manage our speed here. We're coming up on 13,000 feet. We're at 290 knots, so we gotta make sure we're careful here and not overspeed the airplane. All right. Yeah, so in 4 miles we should be at 5,000 feet. We're 7,000 feet above our target here, so we are definitely going to be having to do a little loop-de-loop, getting ourselves back then in line with the runway, and then we can from there get ourselves onto glide slope. So let's just make sure we're all good to go here. I'm going to start the turn now. Looking at my map here on my other screen, it looks like we have a good place right here to start doing that loop.
Minus 2,000.
And then
Feet per minute. Check.
we should be just fine.
Minus 2,000 feet per
So
minute.
the target
Check.
here is at 4,300 feet. We're just gonna do a loop here. Hopefully not too big of one. You know, the one thing that I would say, you know, if you're a newer simmer, I think everyone can relate that when you come into an airport like this and you're high on profile for whatever reason, right? Maybe it was something you didn't set up your flight plan correctly. Maybe the plane just didn't cooperate, right? You know, because of a bug or whatever. Whatever it is, you know, never be afraid to, you know, do two things. Do a loop like this to bleed off that altitude, to get yourself properly lined up with the runway, and then also never be afraid to use those speed brakes. I've talked to some newer simmers over the years, and the things, you know, they say is, yeah, I'll just dive bomb the runway. Well, if you put yourself in that position, you're probably not going to have a very good landing. So take that time to set yourself up properly. A good landing starts in moments like this where you realize, okay, I'm high, I need to get lower, I need to get back on path, and by doing so, your landing is going to be much better because you set yourself up for that success. So all right, so you can see our terrain radar here on our PFD, and we're just gonna keep an eye on that. We're looking good for our spacing there from the terrain, and we're just gonna continue on with our loop, bleeding off that speed. Would like to have a little less speed, but we do have our throttles all the way to idle. Speed brakes are out. So I should feel pretty good here in a little bit as we continue this loop about our overall trajectory down to the runway. Alright, so auto throttle, we'll just go ahead and throw that back on for the moment. 210 is what it wants it to be at. We're going to keep those speed brakes out. And we're going to continue
Heading
with our
104.
turn.
Check. Heading 154. Selected.
These type of scenarios are, you know, things you don't want to find yourselves in, but it definitely is a good way to learn. You know, you practice using your terrain radar. You practice, you know, how do you fix a descent that maybe didn't go as planned. So, as much as I wouldn't have wanted this to happen on one of my featured flights, it's not really a bad thing because it's something that somebody hopefully can watch and learn about how to fix. So, once we make this turn around. Should be making that turn. There we go. We're going to go ahead and get LNAV back on, and we'll be back in line here with our runway. So, coming up on 5,000 feet. We should be good here in just a moment. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that video, whether you saw it here for the first time in the intermission for Flight Sim Expo, or whether you saw it separately. That video has gotten a ton of views, and I'm very grateful for all of the support and everything, and the new subscribers and everything that we've had over the past week or so has been really incredible, and it continues to get more views every day. And I think a lot of people just you know, really wanted to go to the expo if they couldn't, and those of you that did go, it was fun to meet you and hang out with you and meet all of you for the first time. It was my first time ever going to an expo, so it was definitely something that I'll want to go to again. And as cool as it was to, you know, get the time with the developers and talk to them and, you know, use their products and get a feel for them and all that, all that was great. But the best thing of it all was meeting all of the community and the people that make up this channel and the channels that I watch and participate in the chat room. So, you know, that's where it really all kind of comes together and makes it all worth it. So, definitely was a great time. All right, time to get invested here in our approach. We're going to be back here in line with the runway. We're going to just go direct to our Ulick waypoint, and then we should be ready to go. And in just a moment, we'll see if we can capture that localizer in about 5-10 miles. Another thing too, if you're new to flight sim and learning these, you know, aircrafts, Boeing, Airbus, whatever it is, even if you're flying GA, you know, the thing that I had to learn years and years ago was to learn, you know, your setup in your system, right? Learn your flight plan. You know, right now we look out our windows, we can't see any of the terrain, right? We just had to do a blind loop essentially from a visual standpoint, right? But because I was using my instruments to know where the terrain was, what altitude I needed to be at, all of those things, we were able to do it successfully. And one thing that I always struggled with as a new flight simmer years ago, I would never trust my instruments, and you know, I would spend time plugging in my flight plan and making sure everything was put in correctly. And while that was all great, if you don't trust, you know, the information that you have put in, which you know to be correct, it can really kind of fool with you and make it makes you make decisions that you shouldn't be making, right? It puts you kind of in a rough spot. So trusting all of your instruments, using those as a guide is you know, something else that I would highly suggest to anybody new. So, all right, so we're just gonna we'll just keep auto throttle off for right now, just to make sure that the speed doesn't get away from us. We are coming in rather close here to our path here to the runway here, so we're just gonna keep that off, and then in a moment I'll just turn it back on here. We're gonna engage VNAV back on. Let's throw auto throttle back on. Very good. All right. All right, things are looking okay now. We'll get some more flaps out here soon. And we're gonna also get our localizer captured here in just a moment. Get our landing lights on. Those should have been already on a long time ago. All right, we'll go ahead and arm our localizer, see if that gets captured. It should. There it goes. And with that, we will go ahead and arm approach. Plane will go ahead and do its thing. Alright, so a little loop-de-loop to get into Ontario, no big deal. These winds though, if you are seeing these winds are just swirling right now. They're not very strong, but they are swirling. So we're going to keep an eye on that as we make our way in. It was just like how it was over in Dallas on takeoff there. Definitely keep an eye on that. Alright, you want to talk about trusting your instruments. How about trusting your instruments when you look out your window and you can't see the runway? And you have to trust that the runway's out there. Any flight simmer who's been around long enough has definitely had a landing like that. And knows the nerves that come along with it for sure. But with experience, you get more comfortable with it, so.
Glide slope capture.
Alright, we are on glide slope. We are coming in, ladies and gentlemen. Give you one more little wing view here, albeit brief. And once we see visual of the runway, we'll probably go ahead and just disconnect that autopilot, as we are now just a handful of miles out. 7 miles to be exact. Alright, there we go. I see the runway. Go ahead and drop that gear. And we'll go flaps 20.
Altitude 900 feet. Selected.
All right. All right, landing speed today is going to be 145. Flaps 25. Speed brake set to 2. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get down into Ontario. We're going to taxi. We're going to take this runway all the way to the end, and we'll taxi at the end of the runway because the cargo bay is kind of tucked back in that far right back corner. So we're going to just take the runway all the way down if we can. We don't have any traffic behind us. There's no controller online right now, so Ontario traffic. Ontario traffic, UPS 720, heavy on a short final, 5 miles out, runway 26 left for arrival. Ontario traffic.
To go.
All right, flaps 30. Whoa. A little gust there, no big deal. Keep her level.
500. 400. 300. 200. 100. 50. 40. 30.
Alright, cut the
20.
power,
Auto
start the
throttle.
flare. Ooh, alright, we're down.
Auto
Reverser's out. Let that nose come down gently. Yeah, it's kind of a thud there. Minus 380 on the landing. Definitely felt harder than a minus 380, so I'll take that, but wow, alright. Alright. Very good. We'll apply manual braking. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome down to Ontario. Go ahead and disengage that autopilot, disengage, and we will take this all the way down here to the end of the runway. Alright, we'll start cleaning up our flaps, clean up those spoilers. And like I said, we're going to take this all the way down to the end of the runway, as the cargo area is going to be down here towards the end. We got no one coming in behind us, so we can take our time getting off the runway, and we'll get ourselves over to the stand. Nice flight here over to Ontario. It was kind of cloudy coming in, actually, until we were on descent there, about under 10,000 feet. That's where we really got into those clouds, got into that soup. And yeah, we had to do our little loop to get in here, but it all worked out quite well. All right, we'll get that APU going, get that fired up, and yeah, we'll just take this all the way down here to the end. I should have just continued the rollout a little bit further, but that's okay. We're doing all right. We'll get out of here. I can see some scenery issues over here with the lights here. We're just gonna take out those lights, no big deal. They shouldn't be there anyway. We're doing them a favor, right? Okay. I see some more scenery issues here with the lights here in the middle of the taxiway. That's not very good. You don't see that too often. I am using the I guess those aren't lights, those are markers, feet markers. I am using the Xcoder Design Scenery Enhancement. If you're wondering why my airports look as good as they do in terms of the ground textures, it's the Xcoder Design Airport Enhancement. And I have a review video on my channel. If you're interested in picking that up for your sim, go ahead and do so. It's really cool. It really enhances every single default airport in the sim. It keeps all of the buildings the way they are, but it does add some buildings as well, so that's kind of cool. And it's really been one of the best things I've done to my sim as of late, in terms of just creating it to be more realistic. And I don't know why my APU is not responding. It says APU bleed off. We turned it on. APU is running. I do have that indication, but then every time I start the bleed, it does not want to fire the bleed. So, not really sure. Let's just get this to the stand here, and then we'll figure out what needs to happen from there. Alright, I see our marshaller, so he's standing there. He'll get us in. We'll let that fuel truck go by. We don't need to end with a bang here, right? Not too sure about the EPU right now. I've never had this issue where it doesn't want to turn on. I mean, the EPU is running, but the bleed will not engage, so that's kind of interesting. We won't have power here once we get the engine shut down. Alright, well, we'll just worry about our taxi in here, make sure we're in line here with the lead in line. Follow our marshaller. Move a little bit over again. The brakes are so sensitive on these FlightFactor planes. I don't know if anybody else experiences that, but I've just always noticed that the brakes are very sensitive. Very light touching of the rudder pedal brake, of the toe brake. There's two things I would want to fix with this plane, and that is definitely that, but then also the click spots on the plane itself, on like the panel up above, like the not just the overhead panel, but the autopilot panel with the dials. Definitely would like to improve that. All right, we'll set that parking brake. We are all good to go. We'll try and get this bleed going here again. It looks like APU is going. I do see that APU gen is going. Yep, everything looks good. I'm not sure what's going on. That is a bit odd. APU gen is on. I'm just going to shut it down and just see if I can get anything to kind of reset here. I don't really know why it's doing that. I do see exhaust coming out, so that's a good sign. Alright, in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get our lights off here. We'll just make sure that we're set here at the stand. Looks like our marshaller got us in pretty good, so that's awesome. And we can try and call grounds crew here in just a moment. Of course, now my APU is shutting down, so don't have that. Just gonna pull up here. Let's see if I go to engine. No, let's see. Is it hydraulics? No, 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 don't want that. Nope, don't want that. There we go. Yeah, so APU gen is on. But then I don't see anything that's indicating that there's a problem. So let's just go ahead and start the APU again, and let's just see if we can get it fired up. Because again, once I shut down the engines, we're going to lose our power. All right, well, let's see if we can get in contact with the Loadmaster. Okay. Grounds crew. And there's nothing. You can see all the cargo that we hauled in here, waiting to be unloaded. It's quiet. Why are you being quiet? We should be getting a response from the grounds crew. All right, well, we may just have ourselves a little bit of a dilemma here. If we can't get the APU going, and you know, maybe we can't get in control of yeah, this is all interesting. Maybe we can't get in contact with the ground because the APU is not firing up, which is in turn not allowing me to really want to shut down the engines. So maybe everything's kind of holding hands with one another, but I have had this before where you cannot contact the ground crew, so I don't really know what's going on here with all of that. Everything is looking good here, so APU gen, yep, turn that back on. And now the APU just doesn't want to fire up at all. I'm getting nothing from it. All right, well, friends, I think we're just going to probably end this one here. We had a bit of a debacle here flying in here on our profile. We did do a loop to get ourselves down on the right profile again, coming in. Yeah, we just kind of had some issues here. Look at this. So everything's grayed out because I haven't been able to establish with the ground crew yet. Yeah, let's see if he even answers. He should answer. There's just nothing. Yeah,
Sir,
I have had this
you need to
before.
establish communications with the crew.
He's saying establish communication, and we've already tried to establish communication. So we're kind of at a point where there's nothing more we can do. Try Loadmaster again.
Yes, sir.
Hello, this is the captain.
Sir?
Yeah. Okay. Well, what we need is grounds crew. We need the grounds crew so that way we can go ahead and get the plane unloaded and finish our flight completely. So, all right. With that, friends, I think what we're going to do is we're going to call it a day. I'll probably just go ahead and shut down these engines. The plane will just not be too happy, and we'll just pretend that the grounds crew is on break and that they're going to be arriving to our airplane here in just a little bit to get ourselves taken care of. All right, friends. Well, with that, that is going to conclude our feature flight. I hope you enjoyed this flight here in the FlightFactor Boeing 777. I know the problems that we're having right now is, you know, it is what it is. I have had these issues in the past, but I don't have these very often. So if you're on the fence about this plane, do not take this as any way a review of this aircraft. This is by far the best payware aircraft you can buy for X-Plane. So please, please, please treat yourself to this airplane, as they are also making a ton of updates on this plane constantly. And I think maybe this last update is maybe what caused some of this to happen again, because like I said, I've had this issue in the past, but it has not led to my overall experience and great thoughts of this plane changing whatsoever. This is by far a plane that's worth every sort of penny. All right, friends. Well, with that, I'm going to leave it here, and I guess, yeah, we're just going to let the engine shut down, and the cockpit will go dark on us, and I guess we'll explain to the maintenance guy exactly what happened. But all right, friends, with that, I will see you next time. Please like, subscribe, comment, and we will see you on the next one. I do have a video in the works right now about X-Plane that is hopefully dropping on the channel here in the next couple weeks. And of course, more featured flights, on arrival, shorts, all of that coming your way here on the channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you up in the skies.